I like the new Microsoft Surface Pro a lot, like an obsessive amount. So to put my obsession to the test, I decided to swap to the Surface Pro 11 for a solid week. I'm talking video editing. I'm talking word processing. I'm talking about other things normal people do, I guess. I just assumed we all only do video editing and word processing. But in all seriousness, how did the Surface Pro stand up to a week of use? Well, really good in some ways, and not so great in others. Before we dive into it though, quick note, nobody is sponsoring this video. Nobody provided me the Surface or equipment mentioned throughout this video. I paid for the Surface with my own money. Now that's not to say that I'm unbiased. No human being is truly unbiased. In fact, the act of me choosing this product to talk about instead of something else shows my bias towards enjoying laptops. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to shatter the mystique of the unbiased YouTuber, because none of us are. First off, and this is a personal definition, I don't really consider this device a tablet. Microsoft themselves don't call this a tablet, but we, and yes, I'm just as guilty of this, put this in the tablet column of our tech system spreadsheets simply because the keyboard detaches, just like this, and it has a touchscreen. The iPad is a tablet. The Samsung Tab S9 is a tablet, but the Surface is a laptop. From the ground up, this is a computer that just so happens to have a touchscreen and a compatible first-party pen. First-party pen. However, I'm not really happy with that definition either, because this is unique, or at least it's unique in my experience as somebody that has not tried literally every computing device made by mankind. Frankly, there isn't anything else out there that does what this does. And in that, I do think it's interesting enough to talk about. It's not perfect though. So let's talk about some of the things that didn't work as well over the past week. First off, we run right into the tablet/laptop issue. For a tablet, this has pretty good port selection. You get two USB-C 4 ports and a Surface port on the other side that's kind of like a port specifically designed for using with a dock. Microsoft docks. And that kind of fixes my main complaint with the Surface in that I like having the flexibility to set my computers up in my home studio without too much hassle. Like I don't like having a bunch of individual cables plugged into my computer. Here it should be as simple as snapping a magnet into place right here and then boom, everything should be plugged right in, good to go. And it did, it worked great initially. I found an open box Surface Dock 2 for a crazy low price and I plugged it right in. But one morning I woke up and now I cannot get the external monitors to work through the dock. Audio charging accessories, they all work. The displays just don't want to work. So I can still work at home with this, but I have to plug in my Ultra Gear display and my Apple Studio display directly into the Surface. It's not a deal breaker, but I do wish the dock worked better. Hopefully we'll get some firmware updates that will bridge that gap, because I'm telling you, if this is all I have to do to get my laptop to be just my home computer, oh, I'll do it. Okay, we've kind of moved away from the what I like, what I dislike. We're on the subject of working at my desk with the Surface from my home office, so how was it? Well, it's pretty good. Part of that is I kind of really dig Windows 11. It's a clean, streamlined operating system that I can't put my finger on anything in particular that I've liked about Windows 11, but it just feels like everything I've enjoyed about macOS, but laid out in the Windows format. I like the menus, the colors. I don't know, something about this grabbed me the second I started using the Surface. Back to, I guess, everything, any Windows computer, right? So long as it meets the criteria, you could have Windows 11. The Surface, though, once I had it connected to my keyboard, mouse, displays, etc., it felt like using just any other laptop, which is probably the best you can hope for with such a unique concept. The uniqueness of it did not detract from it being an actual useful piece of technology. Performance was pretty good. I'm still, and I know it's frustrating some folks, I'm still withholding definitive statements on how quote-unquote powerful of a machine this is, while apps and the Windows ARM transition gets its feet more underneath it. Like, I don't really care about the bar charts if they don't tell a direct story about how the powers are going to be used for me. What I will say is that for my application, it's been okay. Not great, not bad, but somewhere in the middle. Video editing with my primary video editor of choice, DaVinci Resolve, has been a mixed bag. It works okay with the codecs that I try using on this, which is unique because those used to be very tough for Windows to edit at all. But when rendering, I get about real time, so it will render about 25 to 30 frames per second. Part of that problem is my home office is wired for 10 gigabit Ethernet. I don't have a dock or a port or anything that will work with this to give me 10 gigabit. I don't even have just regular Ethernet cables to make it work here, so that kind of sucks. But even when everything is housed on the solid state drive itself, it's still not great. And in comparison, my M1 MacBook Air, when doing the same thing with the project files on the laptop, renders out about twice as fast. In fairness, video rendering isn't the end-all be-all of usability, but it could be a canary in the coal mine of power for the Snapdragon processor. I don't do a lot of gaming, but I have been obsessed with Vampire Survivor lately, and I was pleasantly surprised at how well the Surface held up. No, that's not a AAA game that needs AI graphics card to properly render sweat drops, 100 meters away, but it's not a slouch either, and there can be an insane amount of things going on at any given time. Throughout the games I played, I didn't notice really any issues. Now, I'm not saying that this is a gaming laptop, because it's not, but if you play my kind of games, RimWorld, Vampire Survivors, etc., you should be okay. And even in my time trying out WoW Classic Cataclysm, it did okay. I could leave it to about settings 4 or 5 for graphics and maintain 60 frames per second. Also, I did actually find out that this Surface has a fan in it, and that's only because when I was playing WoW Cataclysm Classic, doing some of those dungeon runs, I actually heard the fans turn on. The computer never got like dangerously hot, like I never felt that the computer itself was super hot. It did feel warm, and even when the fans were turned on, they weren't annoyingly loud. It's kind of like if you've ever used the MacBook Pro 14 or the MacBook Pro 16, yes, fans will turn on when you're doing big tasks with that, but it's like a manageable sound. It doesn't make that Windows laptop sound of like so even when I did hear the laptop sounds on here, it wasn't that bad. But for the most part, this thing doesn't make a noise. And that sounds like a simple sentence, but that simple sentence has gigantic ramifications for me. Even other Snapdragon laptops like the Dell XPS 13 is just as loud and as annoying as a regular old x86 laptop. This is the first true Apple competitor to me because I hate loud laptops, and I am very happy with this thing. And speaking of regular use, it does all my normal productivity tasks fine. It's a $1,000 laptop. It should be able to do those in its sleep. If it couldn't do Google Docs or run a Teams meeting, that would be notable. So pretty standard as a home laptop computer thing. But how does it work when you're not at your desk? And that's where things get interesting. It also works really well. I won't rehash the power discussion or anything like that. It stays pretty much the same. I don't like the apps as much. I really wish I could get Notability on Windows. But besides that, all of my other programs continue to work fine. And that's the thing I've loved. Not liked, but legitimately loved, and why this computer has enthralled me so much. This is the single most modular computer that I think I've ever heard of. We say that iPads are modular, but they're only modular in the sense that you can lug around a bunch of accessories with them. They aren't exactly modular in functionality because, at least as of the writing of this script, iPadOS is a mobile-based operating system that can do most things. I mean, it can do most things, but there are layers of friction there, and those layers of friction kind of suck. This is modular because yes, there are accessories that you can bring. Do you need a note-taking tool? Well, bring the pencil and maybe a protective case. That's it. Do you need a laptop? Bring the keyboard. Do you need more than a laptop? Bring a stand, external keyboard, and mouse, and you're set. Do you need a home computer? Well, we already saw it. Just plug it into your setup and you're good to go. This is the first do-everything machine that can be either more than a tablet or less than a laptop as needed. I don't need this in a tablet. I don't need this in a laptop. I can actually do everything here. Maybe that's not surprising to folks that have used Surfaces in the past, but it's pretty surprising to me as somebody that has tried them before, but just not really been that into them. The Surface 11 feels very similar to how the M1 MacBook Air felt, like a wholly new type of product that changes what a laptop can be. This has been one of the best I-swapped experiences that I've had to date. Normally, something gets in my way, or I have to live with missing key functionality. And just here, I didn't have to deal with that. The only thing I was lacking this week is 10 gigabit Ethernet, but everything else was great. I'm crazy excited, and I'm very hopeful for more native Windows ARM apps to come out and make this even better. It's crazy to think that this computer will get objectively better over time as more companies include this platform in their release schedule. I really like the Surface Pro 11. If you hadn't noticed from my last 16 minutes of gushing about this thing, it might be my favorite product of the year. We'll have to see what else comes out because this has set a crazy high bar. What about you? Do you have or have you considered the Surface Pro 11? Let us all know your thoughts in the comments below and click here to see the best accessories to get with the Surface 11. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.